I've been a big fan of yours for a long time, and I'm curious how you think about the version of you that we see on stage doing stand-up versus the version of you who's like in St. Louis ordering Postmates.
Yeah, I really feel like she's the same person. I hope that she is. Like, I think it's not been my goal, but I've just realized in my career I just like I like work to be as easy as possible, and it's way easier to be yourself than it is to like put on a character. So I think that I've adapted the style of trying to make my stand-up as conversational as possible because I just don't want to have to like channel something before I go on stage. I want to be able to like be talking in the wings about my friend's guy issues and then be like, oh, just hold on a second, I'll be right back. And then go out and perform for an hour and then come back and pick up where I left off. And I want the people I work with to not see me turn it on. I just don't want to, I don't want to be fake. I think in the beginning you kind of do have to fake it because you don't know who you are as a performer and you're trying to give people what they want. And then you just become exhausted by it all and then you can just kind of relax and let go. It's been like letting go is the through line of my life is like the hardest thing that I've ever had to do when it's seemingly like the easiest.
I've heard that when you first started in college writing jokes, you just were asking yourself, what would Sarah Silverman do here?
Yeah.
Was that successful? Like, did it kind of catch on right away, your comedy?
I mean, yeah, when I first started, I didn't really have much of a life, and so I didn't have much to pull from. My sense of humor has never been, observational or really clean. It's never been easy for me to be that way, or I guess it's just, I want things to be easy. It's always been easier for me to be a little dark and a little dirty. But I didn't really, I was a virgin, I didn't date, I was struggling with an eating disorder that made my social life and like my life in general very small. And so when I started writing jokes, I just didn't know what to write about. So I was watching a lot of Sarah Silverman. She was the first person I saw that was like, oh, I want to be her. Before that it was like, I want to be Jennifer Aniston. And that really didn't pan out because I wasn't the actress that she is and just couldn't get, I couldn't get a role in my high school musicals or productions. And I didn't go to like a fine arts school. Like it was just, there was not a lot of positive reinforcement in that way. So when I saw Sarah Silverman, I was like, oh, I can do that. Like, she's really likable, but she's also like really dark and really dirty, but still people seem to think she's nice. Like the niceness still comes out. And so I just was like, yeah, I'll just write jokes. I remember sitting in my dorm cafeteria and it was like turned into like a study hall for finals coming up. And I had this impending stand-up showcase that I had signed up for. It was my first show ever. And I was like, what do I write about? And I saw a girl like dumping the remnants of a bag of like chips into her mouth, and I was like, oh, Jerry Seinfeld could probably tackle whatever that is. Like, you ever notice that when you finish a bag, you dump it, like something, and I go, I don't know if I'm ready to tackle something like that. And then I was like, what if you were to just act like you were given the assignment to write jokes for Sarah Silverman instead of about you? Because I think a lot of times, a lot of people can relate to like, I would rather do my friend's homework in high school than my own, or I'd rather do anything else for someone else than myself. So I've turned to that a lot in my life when I need to like summon the energy and enthusiasm to write. I'm like, just imagine it's for someone else. And then suddenly it comes out of me.
How do you write jokes now, like for a stand-up special? Are you constantly putting things in a notes app on your phone, basically?
Yeah, that's basically it. It's just like random words in my phone app that I would like to say that don't make sense because I came up with them in the middle of the night and it was a dream, but like I remember writing them and being like, say it in a way that you'll remember, and they still don't make sense to me. So it's just random words that hopefully will remind me of something. And I'm such a disorganized person that there's grocery lists also, or like packing lists I need to make, or a text draft that I'm working on to write to my boyfriend to talk about how we need to work on our emotional connection. So it'll be like, I'll look through my notes. I just randomly, when I'm backstage, like go through a note and like, okay, is there anything in this one? There's no organization in my life whatsoever when it comes to stand-up jokes until I'm really working on a special. And then I have, enlisted the help of my boyfriend, who's a TV producer, to like kind of come in and create a process now that has worked for me for the past couple specials way more than I walk on stage and I don't know what my opening line is going to be.
Really?
Ever. And then I just start grabbing at jokes from my memory. And I would say it's like, wow, she's so brilliant. Like, how could she do that? But It's me just not wanting to prepare. It's me being kind of lazy, to be honest with you, and like coming up with a system where I don't have to look at myself too much, because that's too painful. It's too painful to prepare, because then you are like, I'm not good enough. And then so I'd rather just like wing it. And so I've come up with a way to wing it.
You're making this into a feature, not a bug, basically,
Yes.
of your career.
It's worked for me. Like, it has worked for me to avoid looking at myself too much. That's why I'm so busy. I don't like to be alone with myself, where I can start self-critiquing, because it will just lead to, a depressive cycle that can turn into like really, bad behavior. So I just keep myself busy. People go, you work so hard. I'm like, I'm just filling my schedule so I don't have to be alone with my thoughts. I'm not someone who like relaxes. I don't take vacations. And it's not because I do love working, but I don't understand. There is this impulse of like, oh, I got to get better, but it's really about just like filling the time. I just show up to things I say I'm going to do. That's what I do. I dread everything I do, because I'm like, well, oh God, I have to go do this. But I've said yes to things in the moment thinking I'm going to want to do them, and I never want to, but I'm someone who keeps my word. So I always tell people, if you want to be successful, just say yes to everything, and then don't be someone who cancels, and then you will get better, because you can't not get better if you just do something a ton.
How did you find out? I mean, obviously there's a bunch of meetings, but like, how do you find out that you're hosting the Golden Globes?
On my couch, watching, God, I think we were watching The Bear, and paused it. And I had a call from my agents, and there were, I think they said there were two, like, we have, Alex and Nick for you. And when it's two, it's good news, because when it's bad news, they just make one person do it, because no one wants to do that.
Okay.
So when it's one or more agents or managers on the line, that's good news, because they all want to
Hollywood pro tip.
It's absolutely. Okay. So when it's one, it's, oh no. But it was two, and I put it on speaker, and my boyfriend and I just were like, oh my, and the thing was, for the first time in my life, I had like cleared a month from my schedule way ahead of time. So for January 2025, I was going to possibly have like a brow lift or some kind of like really invasive surgery that I've been, looking into getting.
That you need to disappear from the public for and then reemerge.
Yes, and I would obviously tell everyone what I did. Yeah. I have no shame about wanting to make improvements in that way, but it would have been too distracting to be on stage with it. So I said, I'll just take the month of January off. And they started it off, and they're all kind of tiptoeing around this thing that I was very blunt about. I'm having surgery in January, clear my schedule. And they're like, so this operation, is there any way you could push it till maybe the second week of January? And I was like, what for, guys? Like, why? And they go, do you want to host the Golden Globes? I'm like, yes. And then they're like, you're getting paid this much. I go, I get paid to do it. Like, it was just like a no-brainer for me. It's so
like
funny
3
that you
brow
even have
lifts.
to ask. Yeah, exactly.
I'm set.
Yeah, I can get at least maybe a BBL and my bunions fixed.
A Jazzling.
And, yeah. Anything. Yes. And that probably is what I'll spend my money on, is just trying to stay hot, to stay in this business. But to me, it was so funny that they even had to ask, like, do you want to do this? Because I guess people turn it down.
Right. I was wondering if,
as we've heard.
Well, it's a challenging job, right? Because it's famously the sort of like booziest of these kinds of things, and the whole point is to kind of roast these A-listers, but like roast them up to some invisible line that nobody knows where that line is. Like,
I'm trying to figure it out now.
What have you learned about that?
Well, the line is, so this isn't like the Tom Brady roast where Tom Brady had signed up. There is precedent. He could watch old roasts and know exactly what he's getting into. So there was no line for me except the ones that we kind of agreed upon. Let's not bring his kids into this, and so forth. But there was never a moment during any roast that I've done where I've said, that's too harsh for this person who has signed up for it. Yeah. It's consent in my opinion. But the Golden Globes, these celebrities are there to win an award or act, happy
gracious
for whoever wins the award, even though they're fuming. But they don't want to be roasted. So it's this delicate balance of like having to give the audience at home what they expect of like what they expect from me as a roaster and what they expect from the event itself, given what Ricky has done and Tina and Amy and Seth Meyers and pretty much everyone. Like, you have to. It's a moment for a host to shine comedically with some edge. And it's kind of the only award show that allows that. So the line is, what I can say at this point when we're about a month out, I think exactly a month out, is that I want to fawn and then flame. You know, like it's going to, and that's not insincere. Like, and that's the real through line. Is like, I just want to figure out, what do I feel about this? That's like an overall question, is like, yeah, I can do what Ricky did, and try to copy what he did, and try to do what Tina and Amy did. But what is my overall feeling about what I'm doing? And the thing is like, I can't believe I'm here. Like, how did this happen? This is so cool. I obviously grew up worshiping celebrities, and I still do in this way that maybe I see that I maybe shouldn't anymore, because I just kind of know it's all BS and everyone's really insecure, and you know, I can kind of see through it, but I still am you know, a huge fan. Like I'm a Swiftie, and so there is that part of me that really fangirls out about celebrities and has this unbridled enthusiasm about being in the same room as them and like sneaking a selfie or whatever it is. So I want to tap into that and showcase that, because I think the audience at home can relate to that. But then I also am really, you know, the more I get in, the more famous I get, the more I'm kind of like, oh, like, you like me more now because I'm more famous? Like, you were, you know, certain people, like, you would never look at me before when we shared an elevator together and you know who I was, and now you're like, I'm your biggest fan, oh my God, I've loved you forever. And it's like, you did it. Like, you see the fakeness, which I've always known is there. It's high school. Everyone's experienced some level of this, whether in every part of their life. So there's a part of me that wants to call that out, and also wants to just, you know, you have to tell the truth. And that's what I want to do. I just want to inject some truth into the evening, but without ruining anyone's night, and without having to then later like avoid anyone at the after party. I want to go to the after party like, hi! Like, I don't want to go and be like, should I just hang in this corner? I don't want to run into whoever that might be mad at me. I don't want to make anyone mad at me.
Well, I mean, you've kind of been through a slight version of that with Taylor Swift, which I have to say, I thought that what you wrote on Instagram was, as a sort of apology, was absolutely beautiful.
Oh,
because
thanks.
everybody can identify with the experience of saying something about someone you actually like without thinking it through.
Yeah.
It happens all the time in the world. It's just rarely happening in a recorded environment where the person who you're talking about is the most famous person in the world and then uses it in their documentary.
Yes, yeah. So that was, I learned a huge lesson that day, that I've gone on to make that same mistake again. You know, like I do 2 podcasts a week. If you are talking enough for hours and hours, you run out of things to say, and you start having opinions about people you are going to share elevators with. You know, like, and that was a moment that I learned that no matter how small the interview you think you're doing is. I think I was literally promoting a commercial for Dentine gum, like.
Doesn't get bigger than that.
Like a BuzzFeed closet where this guy was filming me. And I really had bad pit stains that day, so I was doing the interview like this as like a joke, because I'm like, look at these. So I'm like in this being like Taylor Swift, like mouthing off. And yeah, I mean, I can't remember what I posted, because I think I just posted it and I don't like to look again at what I've done. But
well, I read it yesterday and it's very beautifully written.
Okay.
And very sincere.
All I wanted was, you know, Once I saw that clip end up in the documentary, I wanted to apologize to her, not like publicly. I didn't feel like I needed to apologize to Swifties. I mean, I am a Swiftie. I know how much it irritated me. I wanted to cyberbully myself when I read it, or when I saw it. But I just wanted her to know like where that came from, and obviously she's a smart girl. She knows that, you know, any kind of hate comes from a jealousy. And so I had written my agents to be like, hey, could you get a letter to Taylor Swift somehow, like. And they said, oh, of course. And I just kind of felt like they're just going to be like, we did, and maybe she saw it, but we'll never know. I just felt like they probably wouldn't, because they even were like, don't make a thing of this, Nikki. Like, this could just go away. But I couldn't listen to her music anymore, like the next day, because I was just like so sad that I had like hurt her feelings. And I didn't want to listen. I felt embarrassed to like be a fan then, after I had hurt someone I care so much about. So I wrote the post hoping that she'd see it, but once I wrote it, I really felt like it's out there. I apologize, and then I could literally listen to her music again, and was like, it's off my chest. Like, I got honest about it, because I was just jealous. You know, I think that's something I struggle with in my career all the time is just comparing myself to others, wishing I was someone else, wishing I was Taylor Swift, man, or wishing that I was someone that she would want to be friends with, or that she thought I was cool. And I think at the time I just didn't see myself as someone she would ever want to associate with. And instead of just admitting that to myself and being like, I'm just insecure, I just, lashed out. But I learned my lesson that day that, that celebrities have feelings too.
Yeah.
And now that I'm in a position where there are more people have opinions about me, like, it hurts.
Speaking of, like, a lot of people having opinions about you, something like hosting the Golden Globes is such a big deal and so sort of, public. There will then be days of reviews, like, how did Nikki do? Did she strike the right tone, et cetera? Like, are you kind of ready for that level of attention of everybody analyzing if you nailed it or not?
I know this is crazy, but I just know I'm going to. I'm going to nail it. Like, if people don't like it, because here's the thing, maybe I won't nail it in some people's eyes, but I will have nailed it in my eyes because I have set up a system leading up to it that I couldn't possibly work harder on it. So I will that night do the best I can possibly do. There will be no part of me that goes, oh, I wish I would have just worked a little bit harder. What could have been? So as long as I always set myself up where I've worked as hard as I possibly can, I can't really care when people don't like it because I couldn't have done any differently. Now, do I work this hard at everything I do? No. So most of the time, that kind of critique does hurt my feelings a lot because I'm like, they're right. I didn't work hard enough. I didn't show up my best self. But this, I felt the same way on the Brady roast. Like, I worked my tail off for that. Like, I've never worked harder in my life than I do at roasts. And that one in particular, because I had a feeling it was going to be
a big deal.
Yeah, it's Tom Brady. Like,
I mean, that was totally surreal. It was like a sporting event more than like a Friars Club thing.
It was a Super Bowl. Like, it was talked about for about 5 days in the media. It was everywhere, which is a long time nowadays for us to culturally talk about something. And it was about it was like a week where I would be in line at Starbucks and I would see my face on someone's feed. Like, I was everywhere and it was everywhere. It was the Super Bowl. It was culturally this moment that we don't really have much anymore where everyone tunes into one thing at one time. It was giving MASH finale. And I...
You're really blending generations there.
I really am. No one understands what I just said.
People too old for the reference and too young for the reference are both not watching Sunday Morning at the same time.
That is so funny. Well, maybe people watching this will now understand the giving thing because by using a cultural reference, you understand. But yes, I knew it was going to be big. I mean, like, I'm not patting myself on the back because I knew a Tom Brady roast would be big, but I was going to sit out the next roast. Like, it had been since 2019 that I had done one. In that time, I had, gotten to an age where you start getting called old as a woman if you do roasts, or if you're 10 pounds overweight, they call you fat. If you're 10 pounds under that, they call you a horse face. Like, you can't, I was starting to be like, I don't want to be called old in front of all these people and have people laugh, or I don't want to be called...
You mean the other roasters.
Yeah.
I see.
I just was like, I didn't think my ego could handle it, and I still don't think it could. Like, I got my feelings hurt that night, so I really was like, I don't want to do a roast. When I was 35, it was 34 was the last one before that. That was fine. Now I'm 39. Yeah. No thanks. And then it was Tom Brady, and I was like, no, this is too cool. So I wrote, I'm friends with the head of comedy at Netflix. He's an old friend that booked me on like my first big, gig at Just for Laughs Montreal when I was 22. And so we've known each other for years. And I was just like, hey, this Tom Brady roast, like, I think you need to have me on it. Like, I just knew, I was like, if I get this, I'll kill it. And so I told him to tell Tom, because he's like, I'm going to meet with Tom today. And by no means was he like, he wasn't guaranteeing me the spot or anything, but I was like, I really want this. And I rarely like fight for something. I can almost think of maybe no other example where I'm like, I'd kill this. Maybe a couple examples in my life where I'm like, I'm the best person for this. And I just knew it. Even though I'm not a football fan and I knew really nothing about him, I knew I'd do the research and prepare. So I told him to tell Tom Brady, I was like, tell Tom Brady I'm the Tom Brady of roasting. And I was like, that's what I know about Tom. Like, that'll resonate with him. It's flattery, but it's also true. I meant it. I really feel like Tom Brady is a guy that worked hard enough to become how great he is. He wasn't just born that way. Like we as what I found out about him is he worked for it. He put in more hours than anyone else, and he cared enough about his body and did the right things to. He didn't mess around, and I was like, I'll do his regimen to get ready for this, and it worked.
What is the work? You're really well known for these roasts. What is the work of the roast? Is it just going through joke after joke after joke? Is it the refining of the joke? Like what? How do you make yourself better at roasting than somebody else?
It's watching a ton of roasts to lead to really like months out, just to start getting in the mindset of like, that's the way I think. And then it's just starting to talk to your funniest friends about like, hey, would you want to come on board and help me with this? And then it's about just writing as many jokes as possible, and asking your funniest friends to also write jokes and help. It's like, it's a team effort. And then just keep trying to beat those jokes until it's time to go, and then running that set into the ground, saying these jokes a million times so that if the prompter goes out, I'll be fine. Like, I don't have to look at the prompter.
Okay.
Looking at the prompter really creates like a sense of like nervousness. Like when I'm able to go off the prompter and look to the side, like just memorize it, feel it. Don't do it too much that you're robotic. But then just like try it out with audiences. And if these roast jokes are killing with audiences and there's the people that you're roasting aren't even there to like laugh and go along with it, and you just know it'll kill in the moment. At least sometimes. Sometimes you're like, maybe it won't kill when they're sitting right there.
It's interesting that that's your approach now to big things, because from what I've heard, your like kind of big break, your Tonight Show debut, was much more haphazard.
Yeah.
It literally sounds like a stress dream that I actually have on a recurring basis, which is I find out at the last minute I'm supposed to perform in some way.
Yes.
And I didn't know I was going to do it. And my dream is I'm looking for a pencil because I'm trying to write down some notes.
Yeah.
Yours was trying to watch a DVD of yourself.
Oh my gosh, it was insane. So when you do the Tonight, when you get approved to do the Tonight Show, let me backtrack. In college, I auditioned for Last Comic Standing when I was my senior year of college. I got on. The judges of the regionals were these two guys, Bob Ross and Ross Mark. You understand why I had to take my time with that. And they were the bookers of the Tonight Show, and they were judging this night at Zany's in Chicago that I drove to from Kansas City, stayed at, waited in line, American Idol style. But I was in college. I made it to the finals that night. They kind of believed in me. They were like, you're too young. And I was like, you want to hear another joke? And they let me get through. And it was like this big moment. And so when I moved to LA after I graduated, they were like, we want you to do the Tonight Show. This would be great. I'm like, oh my gosh, yes. So then they come see you like 10 times to help you perfect the set. And I finally, on like the 10th time of showing them this set, they're like, that's great. That's the set. You're doing the Tonight Show. I'm like, yes. Tell my parents. They tell everyone they know. And then we wait, and I never get booked. I'm just like not ever getting a call. And a year goes by, and I kind of forget about it. And then one morning in January of 2009, I woke up really hungover to a call from a blocked number, a private number, and it was the Tonight Show. And they said, we had to drop out today. Can you come do your set tonight? And of course I said yes, and I didn't remember my set at all because it had been cleared a year before, and I had forgotten. My act had completely changed by that time. So first I went to get my hair done, then I went to go get an outfit, and so I'm running around town, and then I finally have to go to the show, and I have like 15 minutes at my apartment to find this DVD from the night they approved it, and I found it miraculously in all of this crap in my living room. And I stole my roommate's laptop at the time because I didn't have one, and I took it to watch it in the car, and I popped it in, and I watched it, and I memorized it on the literal 5-minute drive over to West Alameda Avenue. I have that memorized from the old Tonight Show. I got out of the car, and they are like, do you know the set? Because we don't remember it. I'm like, I do, and I just did it for them, and they're like, that's great, and then I did it, and then, yeah. And then I thought my life would change because it was a really good set, and I felt like I just nailed it, and then my life didn't change at all. I mean, I moved back home to St. Louis like a month later. Like it was like crickets after it.
Well, you say that you were really hungover that morning of like, again, what you thought was going to be your big break. How long between then and when you actually stopped drinking?
That was 2 years. So yeah, that was January 2009 that I did the Tonight Show, and then I quit drinking in December 2011. I quit drinking because I got a TV show. My first pilot at MTV was greenlit, and I just realized that the hangovers were affecting my ability to like put in the work, and I thought man, if this pilot doesn't go, which could be for a multitude of reasons, I know if I'm drinking, I'll know it. I'll be able to blame it. Like, you could have worked harder. So I was like, you gotta stop. So I just stopped on a dime because I found that in my life, if something is detrimental to my career, I will like fix that behavior immediately. It doesn't matter if it's ruining my relationships and my friendships and my health, but if it's like affects my ability to succeed in this career, I will stop it. So yeah, I've kept that promise to myself.
So it was not overly difficult for you to stay sober from alcohol?
It wasn't, but I did have help in the form of a book. I read a book.
Oh, Alan Carr.
Carr.
Quit Drinking the Easy Way.
Yeah, The Easy Way to Quit Drinking, which I had used his Easy Way method to quit smoking, I think a year prior, and it had worked miraculously overnight after reading this book. And you can do the behavior while you read the book. And I found out about the book from watching celebrities talk about the book, so I always use any chance I get to talk about it, because I think I saw Ellen DeGeneres talking about it on The Tonight Show, or Ashton Kutcher or someone, and I picked it up right away. And and it worked. It just, and that's not to say it made it easy. And I thought drinking was something that I drink every single night of my life, and it was like the only thing I looked forward to in my life. So I knew it was something I was going to eventually quit, but I thought it was going to be really difficult. But that's not to say that the pain that I was trying to push down from drinking and the insecurities I didn't start dealing with them in other unhealthy ways. It just, for me, drinking was the worst the worst of all of them. But I definitely, like, my pot intake went up and my eating disorder stuff kind of went up, and it's been kind of whack-a-mole with all of those. But those have never caused me as much pain as drinking did. So I'm glad that drinking is just not an option.
In recovery, they talk about this thing called like the dis-ease.
Oh, yeah.
Just this kind of general state of not being at ease that we want to use a lot of other stuff to try to, like, for a few minutes not feel. Do you feel like that's your resting state most of the time?
Yes. That's the obsession with work, is like just not wanting to feel and not wanting, my therapist always says, like, there's this like middle ground where it's just like, you feel good about things, and then there's this anxiety, and then there's the depression down here, and you love being here and you love being here, but you do not like being here, because at least something's happening here.
I think about it as like two sides of the swimming pool, but if you're in the middle, you don't know how deep the water is.
Oh,
so it's just like, I don't want to be here. I can go over here or over here,
Yes, because I run depressed, or I run not even anxious. Like, I thrive on anxiety. Like, I like feeling like, oh, what's gonna happen? Like, I like that feeling. Like, people say that pot gives them anxiety, and I'm like, I think that's why I like it. Because sometimes I'll just feel like bored, and I want to feel like, oh, I want to like think about my demise or like my death. Like, I like that feeling like things are gonna go wrong. Like, sometimes I smoke pot before something that I'm like not anxious enough about. Like, I feel like I kill it when I'm anxious, and so I feel like I need to sometimes feel anxious to put in the work. And sometimes pot is like it's a real, it can eventually lead to depression. Like, I think pot over time is bad, but like in a moment, like, it can really make me feel scared, and then I am able to get work done.
This is like the opposite of scared straight.
Yeah.
This is like scared into productivity.
Yes. I love, even though my first word as a child was dangerous, and I'm like very adverse to danger. Like, I hate dangerous things, and I'm scared of I was a very fearful child. When it comes to like public speaking and saying bold things, that's never been like my brand of fear. It's more like, cars going fast and like sharp weapons.
As a kid, were you super talkative? Were you a funny kid? Like, what were you like?
I was like a dark, weird kid. Like, I remember thinking I was funny, but like no one else really getting the joke. Like, I remember having just a weird sense of humor that would land with some people, but like not everyone. And I also remember saying things that would really like make people go, oh, why would you say that? Why would you say that? Was a lot of the response I got met with. So I kind of learned to suppress it. And then when I, started, going through adolescence, I think that I just wanted to disappear. I just didn't want anyone to see me. I didn't want to get made fun of. I was just terrified of like boys making fun of me, just like people that would say that. I was scared of people that would tell the truth. I think one girl like one time caught me picking my nose in 6th grade and like called me Picky Nikki. And then from then on out, I was like, I just don't want to ever do anything that draws any attention to myself. I want to just like be invisible. And And so that was like what I was like in high school. I just didn't want anyone to see me because I thought they would say something mean or call me ugly or call me fat or like I was terrified. But I had a really funny group of girlfriends. Like high school it sounds like it was a bad time for me. It wasn't. It was the literal best time of my life. Like I had the funniest friends ever, way funnier than I am, and we had the best time. And so I was really, and my family really surrounded me with like funny stuff. Like they gave me a great comedy education in what they watched and what they exposed
Which was
me
like
to.
what? What were some sort of family
Conan.
go-tos? Conan.
Seinfeld, Jiminy Glick, you know, oh God, Steve Martin, SNL. Like they just had, my dad has just great taste in comedy. And I remember he did not know about Conan, but Conan had a primetime special to celebrate his 5-year anniversary. So it was probably 1998. And my dad taped it because as he was watching it, he was like, Nikki's gonna love this. So I remember he taped it and then later showed me and my friends. He was like, I think you guys are gonna like this. And God, it changed our lives. Like, I think that was the first time I saw the kind of jokes that people would be like, I don't get it. Like The Far Side, I'm like thinking of all the examples, but Seinfeld also I was known for like liking these things. It was like kind of my identity in high school. Like she's, to some people I think was like, she's the girl that loves Dave Matthews Band, Conan, Seinfeld. I remember my teacher in 8th grade, the night of the Seinfeld finale, we had a test the next day, and he said, you get to take the test on Monday because I know tonight's so special to you and you can't study. And it was one of the coolest things ever was that he knew that. And he was like a really curmudgeon-y guy that you would have never expected to have any kind of empathy in that way. And I just, so my family has the sharpest sense of humor. So I really just absorbed a lot, but I wasn't the class clown. People from high school
are they shocked of like what's become of your life and career?
My friends aren't because they knew, but I think other people that just knew me from school are like, what? Like I wasn't like quiet. I was I was like a theater kid, not getting any big roles, but I was present in that space. And I think they all maybe saw it. I do remember like really struggling to get roles in high school things. And then the one time I had like a shining moment was my senior year. I was cast as a drunk woman in a play.
Foreshadowing.
Yeah, exactly. And I had never drank at that point in my life, but I was supposed to be like just a terrible alcoholic the entire thing. And I just imitated some people in my family that I had seen act that way because I didn't know like what it's like to be drunk, but I nailed it. And I remember everyone saying after that, like, you're an amazing comedic actress. Like, this is your talent. And I didn't even know what that meant. Like, I was just like, oh, okay. Like, I remember the compliment, but I didn't do anything with it. And then luckily I found stand-up my freshman year of college.
You also really had dreams of being a singer.
Yeah. But they were shot down pretty quickly, like
By
in
who?
high school. By a voice teacher, actually. So I was in like the a cappella choir, and I wanted to get better. So
What was the name of the a cappella choir?
it was called a cappella. The Kirkwood High School.
You didn't have like a cool,
No. We should have.
Yeah.
No, it was just a cappella, and I was an alto, which like I already felt like, well, I'm an alto. Like as a girl, you just want to be a soprano, but I was already just an alto. I'm like, ugh. And then I took voice lessons because they encouraged that, just outside of stuff. And this voice teacher told my mom she's not gonna make it, she doesn't have it, and this is a waste of your money. And my mom told me.
That's a real like reverse Mr. Holland's Opus.
Yeah.
What
a reference. Wait, what happens in Mr. Holland's Opus?
He's
like encouraging
I think he
them.
encourages them.
Yeah. Like a good teacher
like
would
a
do.
music teacher took your mom aside, took time out of their life to tell your mom that your dreams
And
were...
I remembered my mom kind of staying behind with the teacher and then coming to our Volvo station wagon and like breaking the news to me, and then just being at a yard sale with my mom, just kind of like staring blankly, like, what am I gonna do with my life? And like, I remember the teacher being already frustrated with me when we would go in and maybe thought I wasn't taking it seriously, or I don't know, but that's all you need to hear at that age where you're just like, okay, I don't have it. Because that's what I was really under the impression of is talent is you have it or you don't. And now I've come to realize most talent is just who works the hardest. You can be a natural at something, but if you don't work as hard, you're gonna Johnny Manziel, like as for a reference that I learned
Look
from
who-
watching 130 for 30.
Yeah, look
What is
who's
one-
been studying football.
Yeah, exactly. I love documentaries about sports, but I don't care. I like it. I only care about sports after 10 years after it's happened. But yeah, you know, like someone like him who was just a talent out of the gate and like just a phenom. He partied too much and didn't put the work in, and it fizzles out. I wish so badly that someone would have said that, yeah, you might not be a naturally good singer, but this is an instrument you can learn. I just didn't think of that with the voice.
But now you're making up for lost time.
Yeah, I'm trying to. Like, I picked up the guitar over the pandemic, and that was another thing that I tried to play early on in my life, and I just was like awkward at it, not doing as well as I knew my teachers' other students had been doing, because he would talk about his other students that were in my grade that were like reaching these new levels, and I'm like, God, I don't like doing things I'm not good at. So I just put it down, and then during COVID, I just picked it up again, and I was like, oh, what? And I had a lot of time, so I just practiced all the time and saw the results. And so I started doing like 2 lessons a week and really working at it, and I am not a natural, and it is very, very hard. Like, shout out to singers. It is one of the hardest instruments ever, because it's not about like press on this string or strum it like this. It's about like think about the sound going up and then send the sound. Like, it's mental, which is exciting because I kind of feel like I have a good grasp of like forcing myself to do things emotionally and mentally. But it is, it's so complex. It is so exhausting, and but it's fun to just care about something new, to like throw yourself into trying to get good at something, having the kind of same obsession that I had for stand-up when I first started.
Well, you have released a song. It's Someday You'll Die, right? Is the special.
Someday You'll Die,
And then
and
you released a song of the same title, which is really good, by the way.
Thank you.
Like, it really sounds like a real song.
It does, right?
You know? I mean, are you proud of it?
So honestly, it might be like one of the things I'm most proud of in my entire life. And I know people are supposed to say, like, I feel like even if I had a kid, I'd be like, it was still that song. And I don't have kids, but I just wrote, it was my first song I ever wrote, which was something I was really scared to do, because I was scared of that, like, you don't have it. Like, and I just
mean,
got
it couldn't
lucky.
be more different than joke writing, right? In terms of the vulnerability.
Yes, because everything with joking is like, I get vulnerable and then I cut it with like some kind of line that's like, I'm just kidding. I was talking about my depression, but we're all not all gonna get emotional here. But the thing is, I love music. It's my favorite thing. And so for my special, we just like we didn't have anything in the budget to pay for a song for the credits. And so I jokingly was like, oh, maybe I should write one. And my boyfriend, who was, producing my special, was like, you should. And I was like, okay. He's like, well, let's call this person, let's get a team together, let's do it. And I was like, oh God, I have to do this now. And I was so scared, but I just wrote the song the day before we went to the studio, because I wait till the last minute for everything, because I was just waiting till the last second to realize I couldn't do something, and wrote the song, and it's a great song. I'm really proud of it, and I know from being friends with many singer-songwriters that I just got lucky. It's the same as like the first set you have as a stand-up. Like, there are many great stand-ups that had a horrible first set, because you're bad in the beginning. You can't not be. You're learning something. So I just got lucky that it's a good song. I've tried to write songs since that it's been really bad. But at least I know I can do it now. And maybe I'll never write another one, but at least I did it one time. And it's part of an album that is nominated for a Grammy. So I literally am nominated for a Grammy for music. And that's not what I think the Academy thinks, because it's a comedy album, but the song is on the album, so it counts. And if I win a Grammy for it, that would be the coolest thing ever. That's the coolest thing.
Would that end your music career, though?
To win a Grammy?
Yeah, because like then it'd be like, well, I did it.
I would be okay if I never wrote
quench
another
the fire?
song. Yeah, I think I'd be okay if I never wrote another one. But I think if anything, I would be like, okay, now I want to win a Grammy for a music album. Like, could I ever do that? Like, why not? Why not like try? But it's because I can think of why not to try, because it's embarrassing when you fail. But I've done that a bunch of my career too. I remember one time I fainted on stage, like in front of hundreds of people at a show in 2007. I was kind of struggling with an eating disorder, hadn't eaten enough that day. Went to the show and had to go up on stage before I was able to eat the free dinner that I was being paid with, and I fainted on stage. Like, and I never fainted before in my life, and it was so embarrassing. And I remember thinking, like, this will end my career. Like, why would it? I don't know. Word will get around that you are not good, you're embarrassing, and the truth is, no one cares. Like, even and I apply that to the Golden Globes. Like, say I completely bomb, which has happened on award shows before for hosts. All of those people that have maybe not done the best job hosting, they still have careers. They're still fine. They're still selling out shows. It'll be a week of like, ooh, that was bad. But everyone forgets. This industry moves on so quickly, which is both a good thing and a bad thing.
Is this kind of, I find the name Someday You'll Die to be a message of hope?
Yeah. Someday You'll Die is funny because it sounds like it's a song about like, oh, this really dark idea, but it's supposed to be a song of hope of like, just let it go. Like, just remember that nothing, we're all going to be forgotten. So just like, and whoever's hot this month is maybe not going to be hot next month. And that's why I don't really let any of this in. My team is constantly like, let something in. Like, you're hosting the Golden Globes, like, feel it, like, be like, wow, they like me, they really like me. And I won't let it in because I know it will go away. It will be taken away. I will have a dip in my career, and then I'll have a comeback, and then I'll have another dip, and then I'll die. But it will
I think
go
you
away.
just did your Golden Globes monologue.
Truly.
I mean, that's...
None of this matters. What are we doing? Like, we didn't, the Nobel Peace Prize should be on this kind of stage, but what are we doing here? So I think, I don't let things in because they're going to go away, and I don't want to be sad when they go away. So I don't want to attach any of my happiness to how many followers I have, or if J-Lo gives me a fire emoji on a picture of myself, or, I can't let it in. And people think that's so sad, but I think that's actually really protective, and I like that about myself. I don't want to change that. I don't want to let things in. I am happy, but my happiness isn't connected to fame. I mean, it sometimes slips in, and you can't help it.
Yeah.
But I'm not like basking in it ever.
Well, what is your happiness connected to?
I was talking about this earlier today, and I really feel like my happiness is connected to being nice, like having people think I'm a good person. That's when someone's like tells me, oh, I met you in 2006 or like what, and I'm always like, ugh, and they're like, and you were really nice to me when you didn't need to be. Like, that stuff really, I just want to be remembered as nice. I think that is like a harder thing to do than be talented, especially when you get more and more people who like are just sucking up to you and making you think like you are the smartest, funniest thing that's ever, and hottest woman ever to exist. Like, when you have a team of people who work for you being like, you slayed that, like, you are a queen. They all mean it, and you guys are so amazing, and I love you so much, and I know you mean it. I know you do. But
there's like a thing that I call like personality sonar, which is like the way a bat echolocates.
Yeah.
They send out a sound, and then the way that it bounces back to them indicates where the tree is,
yes,
where the thing is. And there's a point of kind of fame and being managed where you send a signal out, and it just doesn't bounce off anything, or it comes back Slay Queen all times, and then you're like a bat that can't echolocate at some point.
No, you see it happen all the time, and it does happen to me. Like, I find myself like starting to think I'm too cool sometimes, and like maybe better than other people. Like, you can't. It's almost unavoidable when you're surrounded by people who just kiss your ass all the time. So that's why I live in St. Louis. That's why I live in a place where it's not why I live there, but it helps me counteract some of that, because my family doesn't treat me differently. Maybe sometimes, like, they're kind of like, they love my star power and you're amazing, but like, I don't have to care about what I look like going around in St. Louis, and people like aren't impressed in St. Louis that I'm like hosting the Golden Globes. They go, oh, like, I went to a fitting like I had to get measured for some kind of couture dress being made, and so I went to see this woman to measure me, and she goes, you look familiar, and I was like, comedian. I go, oh, cool. And I go, and she goes, what is this for? I'm like, I'm hosting the Golden Globes. She did not even look up. She goes, okay, well, I think this, wow, your inseam is long. And I was like, nothing, but that's constantly in St. Louis. I get, no one cares. And there's some part of me that's like, come on, like,
I know.
not
like
you're
at a party and you're talking to someone and they're like, what do you do? I'm in propane sales. Or what do you do? I'm hosting the Golden Globes. So another thing about propane sales,
yes!
You're like, this wasn't even a hiccup?
It happens all the time, and there is a part of me that like wants them to go, wow, but I'm kind of, I'm used to it at this point, and I kind of respect it that it doesn't wow them, and I like the level of fame that I'm at, and I think it will change. I think it will ebb and flow, as I've said, but I like the level of fame that I'm at, that I don't walk in any place and go like, I wonder if people are like freaking out right now. Like, I don't expect people to recognize me. I'm always still happy when it happens. But yeah, to go back to what makes me happy, it's like, I think what makes me happy is honestly, like, I like connecting with people. I like writing jokes. I like writing with a team. Like, I love, stand-up is so solitary, like stuff like this. I love working with my comedian friends and like writing insane jokes, writing jokes that were like, we'll never say this, but let's just like write it. Like there's some things in our Google Doc right now that I'm like, you need to delete this. Like we can't even have this written anywhere. This is so insane to say this. Even the other day I was telling my boyfriend, I was like, it sounds so trite to say this or like what I'm supposed to say in interviews, but like my favorite part is like working with my writers. Like it really is, but I haven't done that before. Like I've worked on TV shows that had a writer's room, but I was the host, and so it's kind of like separate from it. And for the roasts and for the Golden Globes, this has been a process that I've been like with them the whole time. And it's just so much more fun to work with other people. And stand-up is so lone wolf, and doing it all yourself and feeling like if you ask for help, then you're not a real comedian or, and then the other thing is like my dog, like animals and my family and my friends. Like my girls chat is my sense of happiness. Like my best friends from high school and some of my best friends from my current life were all in like a 9 girls chat that were constantly updating in the middle of the night. Like like that brings me happiness, and just like, yeah, and just other comedians the friends that I get to have because I do comedy. Like last night I saw David Spade is like one of my good friends. Like being able to say stuff like that. Bob Saget was one of my good friends. Like the people that you get to, like that you've admired from afar for so long or known growing up, and then now you can call them your friend, and that you love these people and they love you is so cool to me. That's kind of my favorite thing. But also like, I think my new challenge is like, I want to be known for being a nice celebrity, because I think that the more I get in this business, and you know the stories too, we all know the people who have reputations of being miserable to work with, and yet they still keep working. And I just want to be someone that people go, oh, she's really great to work with. She was really nice to us. And not in an inauthentic way, like, but I want to spread more of that kind of like, I just want to have a good time, and I want everyone to feel valued, and I don't want to ever, I'm just very lucky that I have the level of fame and success that I have. I don't think that I like somehow am better than other people because of it. And I think that is something that, and almost to a default, like I'm just like, I'm just lucky. I just always tell people that like, oh, I just lucked out. And they're like, no, you worked hard. I'm like, but I'm lucky that I was born with a brain that likes to work hard. I didn't choose that brain. It's all luck, you know, no matter how you end up. So I'm just, yeah, I just want to keep putting good things out there, but I'm also can be like not a pleasant person sometimes. I don't want to project that I'm like perfect all the time.
You just want to spread kindness to people while you're eviscerating their entire existence in your periphery.
That's the paradox of it. Is like I want to spread honesty. Like I want to be honest about things. I want to keep being truthful and say things that people go, wow, I thought that, but I never could articulate it, or I could never say it out loud. And I want to call it hypocrisy, but I also want to still come across as someone that people want to be friends with, because I want to be friends with people. And I think in the past roasts I had watched, and they look so different than the Tom Brady roast to me, because I was trying to I was still figuring out what my character was of like, you say these jokes and then you just hit them, and you're like an assassin that doesn't even smile. Like I was really like not a very smiley person in a lot of my performances. Even my stand-up I watch, and I'm like, who do you think you are? You're so cool. What a cool girl. And I think now, after the roast, at the Tom Brady roast, because I felt really bad about some of the jokes I was saying to now my friend Jeff Ross, as opposed to this guy that's a comedian that I don't really know that well. Like I wrote some jokes, he's my friend, and I really felt bad. And there was a moment in the set where I'm like, I'm really sorry, Jeff. Like, I don't want to say that you look like something cancer catches, or whatever the joke was. Like, it just felt so mean. And then I kind of let that like leaked out of me during the live performance. And then it kind of just permeated the whole thing of like, oh my, like, why am I saying these things? And like, I showed up in the middle of my set, like, and I had been practicing it, and there had been no, like, I hadn't been practicing being like, I'm sorry, Jeff, like, but that came out because I was so prepared that I was able to like relax a little bit and be myself.
And then your like real personality, your kindness like surfaced.
Yeah, and I think that's why it resonated with people. Honestly, I watch it back and I'm like, she seems like a nice person. Like I showed up in that. Like I watched some old roasts. I'm like, who do you think you are? That's not you. Like, and they're great jokes, and I wrote the jokes and I stand by them. But this one, I'm just like, no, that was you. Like you say really dark things, but you say it with like a kindness that we're like, and you know, I just, And that really taught me like, oh, that's what resonates with people, is like I was able to really be myself. And so like more of that.